When we think of economic development in Baltimore, we often think of big buildings, business deals, but the focus for the Baltimore Development Corporation is on the people who call the city home. And the group has a new leader. Otis Volley is the new president and CEO, and he has some ideas about how to move the city forward, and he joins us now. Good to see you, sir.
Good to be here.
Tell me about some of the excitement for this job. I mean, it sounds like you're ready to get to work and get some people involved.
Oh, very much so. Just, Baltimore Development Corporation is the city's economic development entity, and I just excited about, particularly in this time and space, to be able to be the leader in this role.
As you've learned, Baltimoreans aren't silent about Baltimore.
Never.
Everybody has an opinion.
Yeah.
So as you've listened and done some of your listening tours, what are people saying to you about raising the status of Baltimore?
Great question. I think what I'm hearing a lot from folks is that they want us to do better than we've done before, right? To really make sure that we have an inclusive economy and that there's the potential for shared prosperity. A lot of times, not just in Baltimore, but around the country, economic development agencies will focus in on the big whales, right? The large corporations with large tax breaks, and those things are important. But in 80% of the growth that you see in local, state, and national economy comes from small and mid-sized businesses. Yeah, and so we want to make sure that we are doing those things to invest in those small and mid-sized businesses while still chasing the whales, right? But to go after the work that is necessary to support those small and mid-sized businesses with the same level of tenacity and excitement that we go after the whales, right? And I think we can do both. The scarcity model is a false model.
Okay, I was born and raised here. Admittedly, sometimes we get stuck in the old way of doing things. That's the only way you want to do it. And I'm guessing from your standpoint, you have to challenge that a little bit. Tell me about how you'll sort of steer the ship a different direction.
Well, it's easy to do. I think we have the right mayor, the right strategy, the right time to really kind of go in a different direction. I think the people of Baltimore, as you say, are not shy. They don't hold back in terms of what they want, and they've said we want something different, right? And so we're excited about being able to bring a kind of a different strategy. Baltimore Together, which is our comprehensive economic development strategy, really focuses in, when it says Baltimore Together, they're talking about Baltimore prospering together, right? And building off of what we learned in the history as we were intentional. Very much intentional in terms of, in the past, of making sure that, unfortunately, people were excluded from being part of the prosperity. And so the mayor has been very clear, my board has been very clear, we need to be as intentional in making sure that we are as inclusive in the growth and development that we do. So we are excited about small businesses, medium-sized businesses. We want to make sure that whether it's a retail store, a port business, whether it's a family-owned manufacturer who's been here for 3 generations, all of them need to get our attention, get our focus, and make sure that we're creating opportunities not just for them, but for Baltimore residents to be part of that prosperity.
It's something that got my attention. Over where my grandparents used to live, right over by Coppin, they added a food hall there.
Yes.
Similar to ones that we've seen downtown.
That's exactly right.
Not far from Hamden. So is that the kind of thing that you hope to see, that neighborhoods start to look different, but look the same way as other parts of the city look?
That's exactly right. There's it's not a cookie cutter approach, right? What is great for downtown might be different for uptown. What looks great in Northwest Baltimore might be a little different in South Baltimore. But we have to really approach our work with a perspective of how do we meet the needs where it's at, and how do we build off of the assets that exist in each of our neighborhoods. And we have the right team, the right strategy, and the right mayor to really think in that way. And so that's how we're trying to change our approach to doing work.
There's some young business owners that I'm sure want to jump into the pool and might be a little scared to go to the deep end. Tell me how do we convince them that a storefront might be for them, or that their business might be able to find a home in Baltimore?
Well, it's funny, Jason, because I both want to, particularly in the work that we do at BDC, we both want to help them to learn how to swim, but also to be honest with folks to say, you're not ready to jump in the pool yet, right? And I think that level of transparency and commitment to the overall success, we want to set people up for success. So in terms of technical assistance, financing tools, capital, whether those are grants or loans. And then we're also just excited as we continue to build out really new and innovative financing tools that are going to meet the needs of those folks, so that we provide them with swimming lessons and for the ones who might not be so great in the water, how do we give them a life jacket as well? And I think we can do all those things in partnership, not just through BDC, but in partnership with the state, with the private sector, with CDFIs, community development financial institutions and banks. the partnership together, building the overall ecosystem to support those businesses. And I think now is the right time to do it.
Okay, I've got about a minute left. If I'm a small business owner or a citizen who just wants to be a part of what you're doing, what's the best way to get in contact with you? And is there a website also they can explore?
The easiest thing to do is just go to baltimoredevelopment.com.
Okay.
Again, baltimoredevelopment.com, or you can go to the city's website and then click into BDC as well. Easiest and smartest way to kind of connect with us. And right now, for over 40 years, you heard people complaining about if we could just get the city safer,
Sure.
if we could just drop crime, then we could enjoy an economic renaissance. And we're safer,
Yeah.
right? We're at record lows in terms of crime, and I think right now we are poised and positioned to enjoy an economic renaissance, and excited to be at BDC to help to lead that renaissance.
Okay, I know you're a Jersey guy. I think we've adopted you, man.
Very much so.
Thanks for coming by. We appreciate it.